Dave!
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I gotta
What's
sound
going
off
on?
about this. I gotta say,
Okay.
I want to talk about, like, you're writing a blog post, lots of blogs out there in the world, and you want to apply custom CSS that's like kind of unique to one post, not
Very
all
familiar.
posts.
Yes.
There's lots of, sometimes they call it art direction. Probably the right answer is to not do it all that much, because I feel like if you overdo it, you're going to maybe regret it. But I think there's good and bad ways to do it, and I'm going to talk about it in the context of WordPress, even though I think the concepts of it are a little extensible in some cases to other platforms.
Let's go.
You know?
Let's go.
Yeah. All right. So I need to share my screen, so I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to click this thing, because we're professional streamers here. Is that working?
I see it. I see it. I see.
No, but you just see me though.
I see your face.
I need
now
to
I'm
see
in.
you too. Custom CSS. So this is what are they? The Gutenberg, right? Gutenberg.
Yeah, Gutenberg block editor. Nay,
really
Gutenberg
the block editor, right?
Yeah.
And there's still a Gutenberg plugin and stuff. I don't even run it. This already might look different than yours, because I jack in some CSS to this that kind of like matches the fonts that I use on the front end of the site, because it's easy to do. It's like a custom. You just go boop and you just whatever you enqueue some CSS. Now, by virtue though of using the block editor, there's some styles I can do. Like look, there's a color thing. I didn't write this. This is just there in the editor. I could be like, oh, this block has purple text and a yellow background, which applies padding, because backgrounds don't look good unless there's padding, right? So that's kind of cool. Like that's built in. I would say this is going to work on your WordPress site pretty much for sure, but not mine, because I like DQ, as they call it, some of the styles that the block editor gives you, just because I'm like a little performance nerd and like to not load CSS that I don't use. So if I preview that,
that turns into a bunch of like little classes then, and
right. So in the class, because the classes aren't like, the classes are there, has vivid purple, has luminous vivid amber background color.
Luminous vivid amber background was my nickname in college. And,
yeah. All right. So that's going to work for you. It just doesn't work for me, because I turn it off on purpose. I could add them. I do other things. Like, let's say I was blogging in Markdown, which I can even do here. I could write like, here's my header. Like that's going to work and get converted into an H1. So this is just for like non-WordPress people out there. I could like write columns, because Markdown supports
HTML, right?
Totally, right? And this is fine. It's just that this is exactly what I don't want to do while blogging, just personally, because I feel like this never ages well when you just have straight up handcrafted HTML in your blog posts.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if you're a blogger and you've been doing it for any amount of time, like you got like that twice, right? You do that twice, and then you were like, I'm never doing that again, because like your classes aren't going to be the best for all of time, or they'll get stomped on, or like, or you have to remember, oh, in one blog post 22 years ago, I wrote class columns, and now I have to maintain that forever. So
the alternative would be like super one-off columns, and then I apply that class to this post only, so I know that it's like, so not only the classes but the CSS are both attached to this post. That's going to age better
for the rest of the time.
Generally avoid it, especially now that Gutenberg / the block editor has columns, so I could be like column, and not only does that work in here, so it has this nice editing experience, but it also then all it does is produce classes.
Okay.
And even though I don't enqueue all of the block editor's classes on my site, I do make those work, as well as a bunch of others. And so it's just like whatever, some flex box that applies
has
itself
vivid
to this.
left column, has vivid right column. Yeah.
And yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
There's some media
Semantic
some media queries that kick them
stuff.
down and all that stuff. But I can count on that because this is just WordPress. Like that's my abstraction for this, and I'm gonna use it forever. You can also bring your own abstractions. So like call out box. Maybe I could have made like a web component. I know Andy Bell has this like FYI box or something as a web component, which I think is very clever. I think the kind of the block editor equivalent of that is a block variation. So see this default and explanation over here.
Okay.
Explanation is one that I wrote. It's just a little PHP that says like, you know, the paragraph box has an alternative, and look at all it does is like toggle this class on and off down here. So if I click it off,
Is style default and is style expanded or whatever. And
right, is style default, click this, is style explanation.
Great.
And that orange border, I just jacked. It's just a class because the class applies on the inside in the editor here and on the outside. On the,
Awesome.
You know,
little hint that you did something special here.
right? And I don't have to style them the same, and I just didn't because it's a little wordy. You know, this one has a lot going on to it, and I'm like, I don't want to necessarily like fight all the fights I need to fight internally because there's a lot more CSS going on in here than there is out there. Like there's a lot of like Gutenberg-y crap happening in here, and I'm like,
No, I like that. You just want a hint. You know, you just want the hint, right?
Exactly,
like in the editor.
hint. And I do that I even have, so that's just a variation of an existing block, but you can make your own blocks. I have a code block, you know, that's
okay, yeah.
And look at its syntax highlighted and all that. This is very, very fancy. It's not a code mirror editor. In fact, this is just a text area, but then I run Leah Verou's thing over it.
Prism. Jazz?
Yeah, but on they're CSS right on top of each other with position absolute, and the top one has pointer events none on it. So this is the one I can.
Okay.
This is the one I can edit, and this is the one that's syntax highlighted that's positioned exactly on top of it.
Wow. Okay.
Pretty fancy. Just so I get the syntax highlighting in there. That way, it makes sure that if I write in CSS class, you know, that it's that I can make sure that if it's not syntax highlighted in here, I know I screwed up the highlighting and
code
stuff.
sample. Right. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
All right, so let's say I want to do some other styling. What I think is really safe, certainly, is inline styles. So here's some inline styles. Safe because, like, whatever it's going to travel, I mean, it'll travel through RSS, you know?
Yeah, those are married forever now, you know, once you
Right,
do the inline, right? So
Right. Married forever is a good way to say it. So edit as HTML. This is going to allow some of this style color green. Like, it's fine with that.
Okay.
In fact, I can go
That's clever.
edit visually, and it will even be green in here. Of course it will, you know. That's nice. There's some limitations to this. It has to be valid HTML, for one thing. Like, if I put a div in here, it's going to be like, you can't do that because you can't put divs in Ps, you know? So it's going to be like, oh, you died. Bleh.
Well,
Block
don't judge
recovery, death, you know?
Oh, nice. Well, oh, shoot, it deleted everything. That's like the Windows update, or like when you recover your Windows machine,
Yeah.
it
You
just
don't have any
deletes the whole
files
machine.
anymore.
Yeah, surprise.
You,
Good
you,
luck, start over.
you can't invent, you know, that's fair.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can't just look at, oh, it's gone forever. You can't. You can only do some things, you know. And this is valid HTML, so it's cool. But you know, just the way it is, it's fine. It's a little tricky to do. It's not exactly a first-class citizen, I'd say, but that's possible. I could also be like, here's a paragraph with a class. I could even, you know what I could do? I could group it, which is kind of cool. Group just puts a div around the dang thing, which is kind of neat because multiple blocks could be inside one group, meaning that then I could apply like, this is my group class. Cool. But obviously it does nothing, right?
Yeah.
So
but
I
you could
add
add a hook, get the group. Whatever kind of hook you had. Yeah, okay.
And think I have like print only styles or something like that. What did I call this? I'm going to find it real quick. PrintOnlyContent is a class that I use for my books so that I can.
Nice, yeah.
That means when I display it on the web, I just display none. It goes away.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah.
But this is just CSS that I wrote. you know.
Yeah, okay.
That just sits there. Okay, so that's cool. So here's
That's kind of useful, right? For like I don't know, if you're describing what's happening in like a live code sample or something that wouldn't.
yeah,
like,
exactly. Because I also have online only content, and that's where I'll put like CodePen embeds and stuff that won't work when I print a PDF. You know,
smart thinking.
So here's another class. I could add to it, you know, like Dave class or something. It does apply again. It does apply in here, but you can't see anything. Now, the reason I grabbed you for this screencast, other than that we're doing video shows now, is that you wrote this plugin, Dave.
Yeah, blast from the past here. It's probably the pinnacle of my PHP writing here. Let me see when I wrote this.
So that's this little chunk. All this is going to do, like this is, you know, no shade to Dave, but all this does is just take this code that's in this text area and just put it in the head of the website.
Well, hey, there's some subtlety. I wrote it in 2010. It enqueues a style properly, I believe. Like it properly enqueues a style. That's what the other one didn't. And then the other one only did globals, and like the one I forked. And so this one does page level encodes as well.
Which is more useful. I almost only ever use this one. This one means when I view this page, I guess we can just try it really quick, then this style will be here. But global means that even if I'm showing it like as an excerpt, as a card or something, this gets jacked onto the page, which to me is riskier, you know.
Yeah, I mean, the idea was like you want to style those differently, right? Like when it shows up on an index page, like a global, you want it to be kind of in a big list, you know. But when it shows up on a single page, you only want it to be,
right. And this, it does. I don't know if it enqueues, but it at least uses WP head, because I can put anything.
Oh yeah,
in here.
maybe it does
whatever.
WP head. That's what the difference is. Sorry.
I can just put scripts. I can put anything in here. And this is really useful, and I do it a lot because of how clear it is. It's like, here's a chunk of stuff that just goes on this page uniquely only. It's one-to-one matched with a piece of content forever, you know? What it's a little unfortunate, like if you were to rewrite this today, I might grab this code, or at least the styles of it, and jack them right into the editor too, so that I know what I'm doing, you know?
Okay.
So I use this because it's so clear, because it's a meta box at the bottom of the page, you know. I don't use it a lot, but, you know, and then I try to be responsible and do like really one-off classes, you know. That's probably not going to screw with anything in the future. I'll say that, you know, that's old. I've been using that for 10 years. Another thing I do is like custom block here. There's this plugin I have called custom CSS. So if you sought to see, this is not built in to WordPress. This is a third-party plugin. Always makes me a little nervous, but I like it so much that, like, dude, if I had to hand maintain this plugin, I would, kind of thing, you know.
Yeah, okay. See, I like that. I mean, A, don't use my thing, but B, like that's
look at that,
pretty slick because it's in the editor, and yeah, now you got a lot of power inside your editor. So that mine doesn't do that, so that's great.
Some things work, some things don't, because of you're fighting CSS that's in there already.
Sure.
But isn't that nice? And this will see, like that's weird. That selector, that's like CSS modules, kind of. I think by the time it makes it to the DOM, it's a scoped class.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Isn't it? And it works. See, it's like TI CSS. I forget what TI is. Probably the creator of it. You can also do like, you know, div or whatever, like selector works. You can write multiple classes. What's kind of cool about this is that if I were to give this block a class of, you know, Dave class, it's mad about that. It doesn't want me to delete the one that's already there. That's fine.
Okay.
Dave class, and then in here instead of selector I wrote Dave class. Then this is the only place I have to maintain this. Right, so that first one got it. Let me just delete one of them, and then I'll do a new paragraph that won't have that class, no class, until if I just give it Dave class, it's going to pick up those styles, you know.
Ooh, so I like that. I like
that's
that.
Nice. That's nice.
That seems like a good modern way to do it.
Yeah. So we covered Gutenberg styles. You might as well. Yep. I would think most sites have them. You know, we cover Gutenberg classes that, you know, you tap into but don't necessarily enqueue.
Like block level class kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Custom blocks entirely, where you can do whatever you want. This one I hand wrote, although I should mention there's like a like details. This one I used ACF blocks for. You probably recognize. So I can go like, summary is, spoiler or whatever. And then that has blocks inside of it. So I can say, it was a sled or whatever.
Man.
Yeah, isn't that
comment down there if you know what movie you just spoiled. Anyway,
so notice this has some styles on it too that just gets in queued with the rest of the world there.
That's great. Yeah.
So okay, so that's a lot of custom CSS in WordPress. The point is kind of trying to tightly couple the styles in the post so that it's going to age well. I think that's the big kind of concern with this. Jeff pointed out, my editor at CSS-Tricks, a really kind of clever one too that also kind of makes Dave's thing a little maybe not so useful anymore.
Please.
You can just go HTML and then write a style tag.
See, I kind of like that because it's very clear what's going on. And that's kind of what I'd even do in Jekyll land, like my static site stuff, is I'll just write a style block like that gets put in the head. So, and CSS has evolved to the point.
Have to be in the head.
Well, yeah, CSS has evolved to a point where actually it doesn't care, it can be just at the top of the post. So, I would put it at the top just for rendering, but whatever. But
yeah, probably at the top, so it doesn't then find it later and have to re-render or
repaint at the bottom of the page. But yeah.
That's cool. And then that's a little bit of a table of contents of what you're about to see in the post and stuff. So that's kind of a clever way to do it. Another way to do really custom styles in WordPress is just to have an entirely different template. And posts can have templates too. So I go under post, we have different templates, like our end of the year series, or really one specific blog post has its own freaking template, because I wanted to do something really specific with it. So this post is just has it's a completely own template, and I'm trying to move away from that a little bit. You see, it's not aging particularly well here. I think
that's
some of the fonts,
curse of art direction. Yeah,
it isn't it. They start to deteriorate over time a little bit. And for the most part, like I recently revisited this and ripped out a lot of those custom styles because I think we have a better way of doing it now. This was, an early one-ish for us. And then I was like, this would be neat to do in the future. Let me click this on. I'll click on our fancy post, horribly named. But
I love it.
The whole Dave loves it, though. The whole point of it is that
it tells me everything I need to know. Jeffrey Sutherland would be pleased.
Oops, why didn't it kick on? Template fancy post, save draft. I thought it would kick on. There's something weird with it. Oh, there it is.
There it goes.
So now it's that style where it's really just got one column, a huge header, whatever you put as the featured image of the post goes as that. This could probably use a little love. I'm not sure I love how it looks in here at the moment. But then it's a base that's like, this is a kind of an easier base to customize from. So rather than having one template per fancy post, you just pick this one and then use all the other tricks that we just looked at,
Yeah.
So
cool.
Sometimes I'll just do little baby stuff like this. Anyway, what were you going to say?
Oh, I love layouts. Like, I think that's the next wave of art direction, like good art direction, is just like your ability to offer different layouts, because different posts, like if you think of the news, right, like CNN or whatever, different news has different importance. Like, hey, there's a big global pandemic, pay attention. And then Sally lost a cat in a tree. Like those are those deserve two different layouts and two different treatments. And it's cool that our tools now let us do that, where it was kind of hard before.
Like a troop of designers and developers every day. They're like, I kind of coded this almost so that one or two people could benefit from it. But if you're like a big organization that's doing this full time, like, dude, yes, you should have 100 templates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Very cool.
Well, thanks for sharing. I'm enlightened. It looks good. Thanks.
Thanks. See ya.